Sometimes, the bravest thing you'll ever do is walk away. Not in anger, not in hate, but in peace. Because some bonds, no matter how deep, are quietly suffocating you. We grow up thinking that family is forever, that friendships forged in fire must last a lifetime. But the truth is colder, quieter, and more liberating. Stoic wisdom teaches us to examine life without illusions, to detach not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. Because not everyone who walks with you is meant to walk to the end with you. Here are 11 clear signs, not from emotion, but from reason, that it's time to walk away. Even if the person is family. Even if you've known them for years. The first sign, you are constantly drained, not nourished. After every conversation, every encounter, you feel like less of yourself. Your energy fades, your spirit dims. You begin to silence your thoughts just to keep peace. That is not connection. That is quiet erosion. Second, they do not respect your boundaries. They push. They guilt. They shame. You say no, and they hear it as an invitation to negotiate. Stoicism teaches us to guard our inner citadel. Your peace is not a discussion. It is a decision. Third, your growth threatens them. The moment you rise, they shrink you. When you heal, they mock you. Your evolution becomes a mirror to their stagnation, and instead of rising with you, they pull you down. A true companion celebrates your becoming. A false one resents your change. Fourth, they manipulate through love. I'm only saying this because I care. You owe me. I sacrificed so much for you. But love, true love, does not come with chains. It does not demand repayment. It flows freely, or not at all. Fifth, they violate your trust repeatedly, and expect forgiveness like it's owed. One mistake is human. 2, maybe. But a pattern is not a mistake. It is a message. And the more you ignore the message, the louder the pain becomes. Sixth, you cannot be your true self around them. You shrink your truth. You edit your joy. You walk on emotional eggshells. This is not love. This is performance. And the longer you perform, the more you forget who you really are. Seventh, they only show up when they need something. Pay attention. When you're empty, they vanish. But when they are in need, suddenly, they remember your name. This is not a relationship. It is a transaction. Eighth, you've had the same argument for years, and nothing changes. The words shift. The tone may soften. But the cycle repeats. You are stuck in a loop, not a relationship. Change does not come from talking. It comes from action. And when action never follows, silence is your answer. Ninth, they mock your values, your beliefs, your journey. They roll their eyes when you speak about things that matter to you. They dismiss your dreams as unrealistic. They chip away at your confidence one sarcastic jab at a time. You think they're just being honest. But honesty without empathy is cruelty. 10th, they refuse to take accountability. Every issue, somehow your fault. Every hurt, you're too sensitive. They twist the story until you start to question your own sanity. This is not love. This is manipulation. And Stoicism reminds us, you are not obligated to carry the weight of another person's denial. And then comes the 11th sign, the hardest one to admit. The relationship has become a habit, not a choice. You stay not because it brings joy, meaning, or growth, but because it's familiar. And familiarity is a powerful drug. It convinces you that comfort is the same as connection. But it's not. But it's not. Familiarity is a cage painted to look like home. And one day, you wake up and realize, you've been loyal to a memory. Not to the person they are now. Not to the way they make you feel today. But to who they once were. or who you hoped they could become. And that's where the quiet war begins, between your heart that longs to hold on, and your soul that is begging to let go. This is the moment the Stoics spoke of, not the grand external battles, but the internal ones, the battles where no one sees you bleeding, but you are. And so you ask yourself, what am I afraid of losing? That's already gone. What am I protecting? That's already harming me. Who am I trying to save while I drown? You see, love without respect is slavery. Connection without peace is prison. Loyalty to pain is not virtue, it is self-abandonment. Detachment is not cruelty. Detachment is clarity. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring for yourself. You were not born to carry everyone. You were not born to fix what does not want to heal. You were not born to bleed quietly just to make others comfortable. Even if it's family. Even if it's someone who once held your heart. Even if they say, "You've changed." Let them. Because you have. You've grown. You've awakened. You've remembered what you are worth. And sometimes the most powerful thing you'll ever say is nothing. Just silence. Just distance. Just the quiet steps of someone who has finally let go. Not in anger. Not in hate. But in peace. And in that peace, something awakens. Not loud. Not dramatic. But steady, like the sunrise after a long, cold night. You start remembering who you were before the noise. Before you dimmed your light to make others shine. Before you confused attachment for love. Before you taught yourself to endure what should never have been accepted. You begin to breathe fully. You speak without flinching. You move without permission. And what once terrified you, the distance, the solitude, the silence, now feels like home. Because you finally understand. Solitude isn't loneliness. It's clarity. It's where you meet yourself again, without interruption. The Stoics knew this well. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life." Not comfort. Not approval. Freedom from what disturbs your mind. Freedom from people who do not see you or refuse to. Freedom from the idea that you must suffer to be noble. So you stop explaining. You stop pleading. You stop bleeding on altars that never deserved your sacrifice. And you walk, not away from them, but toward yourself. Every step forward is a return to your truth, your strength, your stillness. And though your path may now be quieter, it is no longer empty. It is full, with your peace, your purpose, your power. You carry no bitterness, no blame, just a deep, unwavering knowing. Not everyone can go with you. Not everyone should. Not everyone should. Because where you're going requires lightness. No baggage. No dead weight. No noise in your soul. It demands that you stop watering deserts. That you stop begging to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. That you stop trying to love people into being who they refuse to become. And in that space, the space where you release the unworthy, the space where you stop gripping what's fading, you meet someone new. You. The version of you that was buried under obligation. The one who used to laugh without apology. The one who dreamed without restraint. The one who saw life not as a burden, but as a gift. That version is still there. She just needed silence. He just needed space. They just needed you to stop abandoning yourself for others. And this is where the real journey begins. Not in the noise of crowds. Not in the comfort of familiar pain. But in the quiet power of presence. You wake up. You wake up. You get honest. You stop asking, "Who do they want me to be?" and you begin to ask, who was I before the world told me to be less? Now, the world may not clap. They may not understand your detachment. They may call you cold, distant, heartless. But you will know, this is not heartlessness. This is self-respect. You don't burn bridges. You simply stop crossing the ones that lead to nowhere. And in that stillness, you'll start to hear something powerful. Your inner voice, no longer drowned out. Your values, no longer compromised. Your path, finally clear. This is not the end of relationships. It is the beginning of right ones. Mutual, respectful, rooted in truth, not guilt. You won't need to beg. You won't need to prove. You will be, fully, and those who belong in your life will rise to meet you there. Will rise to meet you there. Because real connection doesn't ask you to shrink. It doesn't guilt you into silence or twist love into a leash. It doesn't flinch at your growth. It honors it. And when you've spent enough time alone, not in loneliness, but in reflection, you begin to recognize the difference. The energy that calms your nervous system versus the one that keeps you questioning your worth. You see, the Stoics never feared solitude. They embraced it, because in solitude there is no mask to wear, no role to play, just you and the raw truth. And the truth is this: you were never too much. You were never too distant, too sensitive, too ambitious, too intense. You were just surrounded by people who could not hold the depth of you. People who called your peace arrogance, your standards unrealistic, your silence disrespect. But now you see it for what it was. Their discomfort was never your burden. Their wounds were never your responsibility to heal. Their chaos was never your home. And when you stop trying to belong in the wrong rooms, you realize you were never meant to be understood by everyone. You were meant to be real with yourself. That's the beginning of peace. Not when others approve of your life, but when you stop betraying yourself to fit inside theirs. Now, every sunrise feels different. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You walk with lighter steps. You speak with fewer words, but deeper meaning. You listen more to your soul and less to the noise. And slowly, you begin to attract differently. Not from desperation, but from alignment. You'll find souls who speak your language, even in silence. Who don't fear your truth, but echo it. Who meet you with calm, not confusion. Presence, not performance. These are not people you chase. They are people who appear when you become so whole on your own. That connection becomes a choice, not a need. A choice, not a need. Because when you no longer need to be chosen, you finally learn to choose yourself. And from that place, you protect your peace like sacred ground. Not with walls of bitterness, but with gates of discernment. You no longer invite chaos to sit at your table. You no longer entertain conversations that drain your spirit. You no longer say yes out of guilt. And you no longer apologize for saying no. This is the discipline of the Stoic. Not cold, not distant, but deeply rooted in what matters. You've walked through the fire. And on the other side, you didn't become hardened. You became clear. Clear on what love is, and what it's not. Clear on what you need, and what you'll never tolerate again. You now understand that not every ending is a loss. Some endings are rescue. Some goodbyes are whispered prayers finally answered. Some doors close because your soul grew too big for the room, and you let them close, without forcing, without begging. Because now you trust, not in people, not in promises, but in the quiet knowing that what is meant for you will not require you to break yourself to have it. So you walk. Not fast. Not loud. Just steady. You walk through the ruins of what once was, and you build again, not with haste, but with intention. Brick by brick. Truth by truth. Moment by moment. And what you build this time will not be for others to approve. It will not be built from fear of being alone. It will be built from love, not the one they gave you, but the one you found in your own silence. In your own silence. Because that's where the real power was hiding all along. Not in their validation. Not in their attention. But in your ability to be with yourself and feel complete. Now, you no longer chase closure. You no longer explain your peace. You no longer ask for permission to evolve. You've learned that healing doesn't always come with applause. That peace won't always be celebrated by the crowd. That your highest self might offend the people who only knew your wounded one. But you rise anyway. Quietly. Consistently. Unapologetically. You start honoring the sacredness of your energy. You protect your time like it matters, because it does. You stop running toward noise, and lean into stillness, because only in stillness do you hear the voice that says, "This is who you truly are." No masks, no performance, just presence, just power, just truth. The world around you won't always understand it. They'll say you've changed, but they won't see the cost of the old version of you, the one who tolerated too much, the one who abandoned themselves just to be loved. But you'll remember, and because you remember, you will never go back. Not to that place, not to that version, not to that emptiness disguised as love. From here forward, you move differently. You choose silence over noise. Depth over distraction. Peace over people-pleasing. Solitude over settling. You build a life that reflects your values. A life where your spirit doesn't have to shrink to fit in. A life where love feels safe, not sacrificial. And when the storms come, because they will, you will not beg for shelter. You are the shelter now, built from stillness. Framed in boundaries, rooted in wisdom. You are no longer searching. You are becoming. Into purpose. Because once you stop surviving and start remembering, life begins to move differently. Not faster, not louder, but truer. You no longer rush to fill the silence. Because now, silence feeds you. You no longer seek to be seen. Because now, you see yourself, fully, fiercely, without flinching. The world around you may still pull. Old voices may whisper. The past may try to return dressed as comfort. But you've changed. Not in appearance, but in essence. You've reforged yourself in the fire of your own truth. You've buried the need to be liked, and replaced it with the courage to be authentic. That's why now, your presence speaks louder than your words. Your calm makes noise. Your stillness is a storm, not to destroy, but to clear everything that no longer belongs. And what rises in its place is not a version of you shaped by trauma, or fear, or the need to belong. It's the real you, uncompromised, untamed, unapologetic. You no longer fear being alone, because now you walk with yourself, not as a stranger, but as a guardian, a witness, a warrior who remembers. That peace is not the absence of conflict. It's the presence of alignment. You don't chase love. You attract respect. You embody clarity. You become a mirror for others to face their own truth. You no longer move for the applause. You move for the mission. A mission to live deeply, to speak honestly, to love wisely, and to let go, not with bitterness, but with honor. Because even the ones who broke you were teachers. Even the chapters that hurt were sacred. They didn't destroy you. They delivered you to this moment, to this stillness, to this unshakable presence, to this unshakable presence. And now, you move through the world differently, not above it, not beyond it, but within it, untouched by the chaos that once consumed you. You no longer react. You respond, not from emotion, but from awareness. You speak when it's necessary. You observe when it's not. You understand that not everything deserves your energy, your reaction, your explanation, because your peace is no longer fragile. It is fortified, built on the bedrock of discipline, truth, and self-respect. The Stoics called it the inner citadel, a fortress the world cannot shake. And now you live there, not to hide, but to see more clearly. From here, you don't chase outcomes. You practice virtue. You don't try to control others. You master yourself. You wake with intention, not impulse. You choose your company with care, knowing full well that not everyone deserves access to your presence. Because peace isn't just found, it's protected. It's guarded in every choice you make, every boundary you uphold, every truth you refuse to abandon. And when pain visits, as it always does, you no longer run. You face it, feel it, let it shape you, but not define you. Because now, pain is not the enemy. Attachment to the wrong things is. Now, you walk through endings with your head high. You greet uncertainty without fear. You trust the flow of life, not because it's easy, but because you no longer need it to be predictable to feel safe. Your safety is you. Your home is you. Your peace is no longer conditional. It's embodied. You are no longer ruled by emotions. You witness them. You are no longer enslaved by the past. You've harvested its wisdom. You've stopped asking, what if they leave? What if it ends? What if I'm alone? And now you ask, what if I stay true to myself? What if I honor my peace above all else? What if the life I was seeking begins the moment I stop running from myself?